Are you self-hosting services or run your own website? Then you should get yourself a free SSL certificate without paying any yearly fees. In this video, I will show you how you get a free SSL certificate and even a free Wildcard certificate with Let's Encrypt. And I will show you how to set that up in a couple of minutes. If you haven't heard of Let's Encrypt before, it's a free, automated and open certificate authority run by the non-profit Internet Security Research Group, and its goal is to make HTTPS encryption the default for the entire web. Before Let's Encrypt, SSL certificates were expensive and complicated to install. Let's Encrypt changed the game by offering free certificates and tools to automate everything. And by the way, this is not sponsored. I'm just a huge fan of Let's Encrypt and I use them all the time for all of my services. Without certificates, your web services will show this not secure here on the top. And with HTTPS, with an SSL certificate, it will show this little padlock icon and will show that this connection is secure. But HTTPS isn't just about this padlock icon. It protects your data, builds trust, and even improves your SEO ranking. Without HTTPS, everyone in the same network, like a coffee shop or Starbucks or anything like that, for example, could intercept the data. That's why secure websites are so important. How does Let's Encrypt work? It uses the ACME protocol to verify domain ownership and to issue the certificates. When you request a certificate, Let's Encrypt will verify that you own the domain by checking the DNS records or by serving a special file on your server. To use Let's Encrypt, all you need is a domain and a public-facing server. I'm using an Nginx web server, and you need to install Certbot. But I will show you how to do those right now. As always, every command I will be using here and every file I will be using here you can find for download in the description down below. Alright, so here on our Linux server, it's an Ubuntu server, we can change into our etc directory, into Nginx, into sites available, and in here we're going to make a new file. Let's call it cert the sysadmin hub.com. I prepared this standard file here. It just listens to port 80, which is HTTP, listens to the URL cert.thesysadminhub.com, and then it will forward everything to localhost to the port 8080. I don't have anything hosted here on port 8080, I think, but that doesn't matter for our case in here. If you have any questions about Nginx as a reverse proxy, you can check out this video here where I go into detail about the Nginx web server. So we can save this file and then we can go back one directory, go into sites enabled. That's how I like to do it, and then just make a symbolic link with ln-s. The original file is in sites available and is called cert, and I will call it the same, cert.thesysadminhub. So it's this one right here. And now we can install Certbot because we have our domain, the sysadmin hub, you have your domain, and we have a public facing server, which is our web server here with Nginx reverse proxy. And now we need Certbot. We can install Certbot with this command, sudo apt install certbot -3 certbot and then Nginx. There is also one that you can install for Apache 2 if you're using Apache 2 web server. I will have that command in the description down below. Mine was already installed, obviously, but on yours, it's going to install it. And the easiest way to get a certificate is with this command. You just say certbot --nginx. Again, for Apache, use --Apache. And then Certbot will ask you what domain you want to use. It will scan your web server. I have 7 here. It will scan it for what domain do you want to have one. And then you can just type in here number 7, for example, and then you get your SSL certificate. But I like to do things a bit differently. So let's cancel this one here. What I always do in my videos is I use certbot -nginx -d for domain, and then enter the domain. It's cert.thesysadminhub.com and then enter, and then it will request the certificate for cert.thesysadminhub.com, and there we have it. It successfully deployed the certificate for this domain. And the nice thing about Certbot is, if we have a look at cert.thesysadminhub.com, it changed the file completely. It told the Nginx web server to listen to port 443, which is the default port for HTTPS, and it told Nginx where the certificate is and a bunch of different other stuff. Again, if you want to go into detail about this file, watch my Nginx video. If you have a look here at one of my certificates for my Nextcloud, those certificates are always only valid for 3 months, for 90 days. It doesn't sound that much, but that's totally okay, because Certbot will automatically renew your certificates without you doing anything. So you don't need to worry about that at all. I will show you how that works. If you enjoy my content, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Also, leave a comment if you really want to support me. Those actions really help small channels like mine. Thank you so much for your support. And with this command right here, we can list all our timers and grab the line with certbot in it. It will show you when the timer ran last and when will it run again, and what it will do. It will do the certbot.service. So this service will always check if your certificate is still valid, if it's about to expire, and if it's about to expire, it will renew. And Certbot also automatically installs a cron job. So if we go in here, let's split it, and then on the bottom terminal, we go to, I believe it's in here, cron.d. What do we have here? We have here certbot and certtest. Those are from certbot automatically in here. You don't need to do anything for that. It will automatically run this command every 12 hours to check if your certificates needs to be renewed. But if you want to make sure and be safe, you can also run this command, certbot renew --try run. What this will do is it will see if certbot is able to renew your certificate with this command, and then it will just try it out as a simulation, and you can see then if everything is working fine on your web server and for your certificates. Okay, on mine it took about 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, not that long. And I have some errors here because I played around with my DNS records, but for the important part for this video is that you can see that cert.thesysadminhub could successfully be renewed if ever it would renew it right now. Okay, let's have a look where those certificates are stored in. They are in Etsy. Let's encrypt. What do we have here? We have live, I believe. And in here we have this one here, and in here we have cert.pem, the chain.pem, the full chain.pem, and also the private key.pem. So what those are is the private key obviously is the private key, the cert.pem is the public key, then you have a chain.pem that's from Let's Encrypt, and then you have the full chain.pem that's cert.pem and chain.pem together in one file. If you can even have a look at them, you can check those out. It's just some string here with the beginning of certificate and the end of certificate. I can't read it, but all those browsers can. But now we only have a certificate for cert.thesysadminhub.com. If you have multiple services for example, like I do, then you would always have to request and renew, not renew actively, but it will be renewed, certificates for every single subdomain that you have. A wildcard certificate, which would be much better and much easier to use. And you can do that with Let's Encrypt as well. I will show you how. And for that, we're going to use Cloudflare not because it's sponsored, but because I'm a huge fan of Cloudflare. It really makes DNS zones and DNS records super easy. And together with Let's Encrypt, you can get a wildcard certificate. So for that, we're going to install a Let's Encrypt, a Certbot plugin with sudo apt install python3-certbot-dns-cloudflare. Mine is already installed, but on you it will install it. And after installing, you go to your Cloudflare and go all the way down here to manage account and then to account API tokens. I already have some here, but I'll just create a new one. And I want it to be able to edit zone DNS. I want it to be able to edit it. Then we're going to get a specific zone for only the domain sysadminhub.com. And I also want it to only be accessed by my IP address. That's what I'm going to enter here. All right, yeah, that's the IP address from my web server here, the public IP address. And then it's asking us for a TTL, time to live. So I want it to be valid from today until, let's say, Sunday here, because I'm not going to use it actively. And then I'll continue to summary, and then I will create the token. And then this is the token right here. And I don't care if you see it, because first of all, it's only valid for 1 week. Second of all, it can only be used in my IP address. And third of all, I will delete it probably at the end of this video or after I'm done filming this video. Okay, and then when you have copied your Cloudflare API token, then we go to /etc Let's Encrypt, or wherever you want to store that token. We create a file called cloudflare.ini. Actually, you can name it however you want, but if you want to follow my tutorial, then it's cloudflare.ini. And in here, we're going to type in DNS underscore cloudflare underscore API underscore token equals, and then your token, and nothing more, just that. Save that file, and then just to be safe, we're going to change the rights on that file so that only the owner of the file, which is root, can read and write this file. And now we can run this command here. It goes over several lines. Whoops, it's in here. So it's first line, sudo certbot cert only. We're going to tell it with --DNS Cloudflare. We want a DNS Cloudflare challenge. And the DNS Cloudflare credentials are in this file, /etc Let's Encrypt cloudflare.ini. That's why I said it doesn't matter where you save that file, just know that location. I always do it in here. And what you need to do here is change the domain into the domain that you have. For in my case, it's sysadminhub.com. And also in here, sysadminhub.com. There was one .com too much. What that does is, the first one is the wildcard certificate. That's a little star in here. It will be valid for any subdomain of the sysadminhub.com. And the second one is just for plain domain, the sysadminhub.com. So if we hit enter, it will request the certificate for both those entries. And I have an error in here because I need to specify my IPv6 in my Cloudflare token. So I will do that. All right, token has been updated. And then let's run that command again. And this time it should go through. What could happen here is that you have a typo error in here in your domain, or maybe in your API token file, or in the location where you saved that API token. That could all be issues here. But it seems like that everything is working fine and well here. So we have successfully received certificates. The certificates are at @, Let's Encrypt Live, the sysadminhub.com full chain PAM, and the sysadminhub.com private key PAM. By the way, never ever show your private key.pam to anyone. Show that you have the file like I do here, but never show what's inside this file. And now what you could do with this information is, let's split this. We're already here in Nginx. Let's go into sites enabled. Let's go into cert to sysadmin hub. And then in here is the location of the full chain PAM and the private key. And we can just take this one, delete this one, then enter this. Don't forget the colon at the end. And then the private key as well. Copy this. Let's go all the way back. Delete this one here. Insert this. Colon at the end. And now we're using the wildcard certificate for the subdomain cert.thesysadminhub.com. Let's save this. And oh, just to be sure, we can do nginx-t just to check if everything is okay. And Nginx tells us the syntax is okay, so everything is working fine here. It would have told us if the location of the certificate is wrong or something like that. All right, we're basically through, but I want to show you some more Certbot examples that you can do with Certbot. For example, this command here, that's the one that we used, is certbot-nginx-d, and then your domain or a subdomain that will just request a certificate for that domain. If you don't want to specify Nginx or even Apache or any other web server, you can do --standalone. That one will just request a certificate and then save those certificates in the location @, Let's Encrypt, where you can do with them whatever you want. But it won't change the Nginx config files or the Apache config files. Not like when you use the command --nginx, for example. You could also do sudo certbot renew to renew the certificates that you're using. As I said before, on mine I will get a bunch of errors here because most of my DNS records are not valid anymore for what I configured here. Just playing around with this server. What you can also do with Certbot is you can revoke a certificate with certbot revoke and then certpath --certpath and then just the path where you have your cert.pam file laying here, just in case of you don't want that SSL certificate anymore. You will have your reasons why you would want that. And to wrap things up, some troubleshooting tips. Some common issues might be port 443 is blocked or not opened in your firewall. That one is important because it's a standard port for HTTPS. Also, port 80 might be blocked, even though that's the port for HTTP. You want that one to be open because the DNS challenges are all going through port 80. And also the certificate renewals are going through port 80. So don't close this port. Even though you already have your SSL certificates, you need that port open for those renewals. Also, what might be the case is incorrect DNS settings. What I mean is you need to have the IP address correct. And second, you need to have the subdomain correct. If there's a typo error in there or you have a typo in your command, it won't work. And the last issue that might occur is that you have a misconfiguration in your web server. If there's a typo in there, the web server won't work, or something like that if you have a typo in your path where you have your certificate stored, for example. All in all, Let's Encrypt makes it incredibly easy to secure your website, your Nextcloud, your Mailcow mail server, or any other service that you're using, either on a cloud server publicly or even on your home lab. And you can use the DNS Cloudflare challenge without even exposing your home lab to the internet. You can request a wildcard certificate without opening port 80, without opening port 443. You don't need to expose anything there on the world, on the wide internet. You can all use it in your home lab as well. And most importantly, it's all for 100% free. So there's no excuse to leave your services unencrypted. I hope you liked that video. Stay tuned for the next one and consider subscribing. Thank you so much. See you next time.